Good morning, Danny. Good morning, Danny's viewers. You might remember me, I'm Mark from the UK. I was on Danny's channel about a month ago at Ellis Island with Danny. Well, I'm back in the UK now, and I thought it'd be a good idea, because we talked a lot about fish and chips. I'm going to get some proper English fish and chips. I'm going to show you what we get, what they look like here, and so that if in Las Vegas you can see whether, when they say authentic British fish and chips, whether they are actually authentic. So we're going to do that. Luckily it stopped raining. It's now rained since the day we arrived home in the middle of January. It's rained every day, and it is going to rain again today, so when I take you out you might see some rain. So that's what we're going to do. A little bit of history about fish and chips first. Fish and chips were put together as a meal in Victorian times, so the 19th century, very much a working man's food. So why Gordon Ramsay thinks of putting lobster in his menu when that's not a working man's food. Although Danny eats a lot of lobster, don't you, Danny? It's not a working man's food. So fish and chips, about 19th century, was always probably the most popular takeaway in Britain. Although now the most popular takeaway dish in Britain is chicken tikka masala, not fish and chips. At the last count, there are about 10,000 dedicated fish and chip shops in the UK. So that's about as many McDonald's as there are in America. So it's very popular. In my town alone, which has a population of about 1/10 of the size of Las Vegas, there are 12 fish and chip shops. And that doesn't include like a Chinese takeaway that sells fish and chips, or a pizza takeaway that sells fish and chips. So it's very popular, fish and chips. So very much a peasant food. What we used to do is, when you'd finished with your newspaper, you would take it to the fish and chip shop, your old newspapers, and your fish and chips would be put inside a piece of greaseproof paper and then wrapped up in newspaper. Then in the 1980s and 1990s, so when I was young, they decided health and safety rules and food hygiene rules that you weren't allowed to use newspaper anymore. So they stopped wrapping them in newspaper, and it was just in white paper, or now it's more common that they come in a box, and I think that's what you would have when you're in Vegas as well, is in a box. I used to like it in newspaper, and so that's why when you see the box has newspaper print on, or sometimes the paper that's inside, I think Gordon Ramsay probably does it because it's a nod to our history, that the greaseproof paper looks like newspaper print. But obviously no one died of it, but we stopped doing it, and probably for the good, who knows. I remember you used to sit with your fish and chips in your hand in a newspaper bag, and when you'd finish, your hands had ink on them. So probably going into your food as well. We probably ate a lot of ink in the 1980s. Anyway, I'm going to go, and you can follow me down. We'll walk down through my town, and I'll show you a few things of interest. And plenty of salt, plenty of vinegar, and then plenty of salt again. Just before I go, just tap water. I've got a question. In England, our water comes out of what we call a tap. So, tap water. Your water comes out of what you call a faucet. So why do you call it tap water? Who knows these things, guys? Anyway, I'm going out now. Well, yeah, we're outside. It's not raining. That's my house, and that was built in 1860s. So around about the same time that the same age as the Mormon fort in Las Vegas that was built in 1855. And so that's normal. It's normal to have a house of about that age in the UK. But what's weird is this. So this wall, and then it goes down to like a tower at the end, which is called Coverdale Tower. That was built in the 14th century. So that was about 600 years ago. So I was, when Christopher Columbus landed in America, that building was already about 100 years old. So it's a bit weird to have a building that's so old, but no one really notices. It's just such an old building. There you go. And what that was a wall that went around the bishop's home. So that was like they call this Palace Avenue, this area, because that was like the bishop's palace. You see behind me as I walk away. Okay, I'll come back to you when there's something interesting to show you. Not raining, but certainly windy today. Wind blowing around. One of the things I did just do was a big no-no if you're in America, which is just cross a road, not a crossing. So you call that jaywalking. That's normal here. You know, jaywalking was never invented to prevent accidents. It was brought in by the automotive industry in America, so the cars could go faster. And there's absolutely no evidence that jaywalking laws prevent any accidents. Interesting. Right. That's our train station in our town. Very windy, so I don't know how much I was going to get. Train station. And the main street of the town runs through the through the train line. Every now and again the level crossing comes down. And then there's a second train line over there, which is the steam railway. Oh, it's a bit less windy on this side of the road, going the cover. So nearly at Sloth Fish and Chips, home of the Yorkshire chip. This is the other side of the road. I'm not going to film going in there. What I'll do though, I'll put the camera in the pocket and leave the microphone on, so you can hear what's going on. Yeah, no, yes. Yeah, all right. Large cod and chips with scraps, please. Do you do bread roll? Yeah. Yeah, another bread roll.
Can I have a bread roll, please? Yeah, thank you. Salt and vinegar.
Yeah, loads, please.
Want it buttered? Yes, please. You do want it buttered, don't you?
Yeah, please. And have a small peas, small gravy, and a pickled egg, please. I don't know how much of that we got. Typically it's raining now. So I'm going to go down and eat these outside. They were wrapped in paper. They weren't in a box. The proper way that you're supposed to have them. So I'll go down, find somewhere nice to eat them, and then you can have a look. It's the nearest you get to a casino in Paynton. The amusement arcade. And this is the Spud Shack. So in Britain, we call a baked potato a jacket potato. And then we further change it to being a spud. So we have a place called the Spud Shack, where you can get a baked potato with any kind of filling that you want. So, Danny, you like this video? We might do a jacket potato from Spud Shack next time. As you can see, the weather is now horrible because it has rained every day since I came home from Vegas. That's a fact. So let's walk down and we can possibly see the sea through the mist, because it is a miserable day. But I've got my food. One of the things about the fish and chips I just got is they are cooked in beef dripping. So that's Paignton Pier. We have amusement arcades, a fish and chip shop. There are always fish and chip shops everywhere. Ears are getting cold. I'm glad I'm wearing a cap. So this, the side of the road, is because of all the terrible storms that we've had. Stuff that should be in there. Coming there. Well, that's what the British weather is rain, rain, wind, rain. Another interesting place, look over there, the building in the distance. That was built in about 1850 by Colonel Robert Smith after he came back from colonial India, and he decided he was going to build his house based on an Indian palace. Or that as a shed over there. Build it based on an Indian palace, but as time changed, fashions changed, and it was all torn apart, all the Indian part on the outside, and it was eventually became a hotel. A new hotel company have bought it, and they've decided they want to restore it back to its former glory. So it's currently closed while they turn it back into an Indian palace. I'll come inside slightly just so I can actually open my food because it's so windy. And there you go, that's how we get them, wrapped in paper. There's the cod. And these are very special chips, as these are battered chips. They all want my food. I'm not having my food. So you see, big piece of cod inside. Beautiful cod. I've moved some of the fish so you can see just how golden those chips are. But what do you have with fish and chips? Well, mushy peas. That's the main thing you have. Certainly in England. And I got a pot of those. So again, here's the mushy peas with a chip. Dip it in. Perfect. So mushy peas usually like marrowfat pea. And it's mushed down. It's have the consistency of guacamole. It looks like guacamole as well. But they're hot. Just in case you don't have them. I don't know. Who knows these things? So that's one of the moist items to have with chips. Here is another item that we have, which is gravy. Now, when I was in Vegas, I had the French dip. And with a French dip, you dipped I think you've had it as well, the brisket sandwich, you dip it in and it wets the bread. The differences between our gravy and that gravy is if you look how thick this is. So this, excuse the wind, this properly coats the chip in gravy rather than just wetting it. And being northern, We love gravy. Gravy is our favourite thing. We're known for it. We're loving gravy. Ooh, there goes the wind again. Two more things to show you. I've still got some chips. One, I don't buy. I don't have. My daughter does. She's very strange. Let me just find it in here. So, we like pickling things. I think you pickle things in the States as well. But we have pickled eggs. The hard-boiled egg that's then pickled. So, here. Oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to eat this, but I'm going to try in the interests of you, Danny, and your video. So they put in big jars, and my daughter will eat a whole jar of them. That's not that bad. So that is a pickled egg. And I need a chip. So that nice crusty chip to get rid of the taste. So the last item, controversial, because wherever you go in the country, they have different names for this. You wouldn't think that'd be difficult, would you? So my wife calls it a bread roll, or a pat. I call it a tea cake. Other parts of the country will call it a bread cake. Some places call it a stotty, a muffin, a barm cake. So everywhere has different names for it. But the universal rule is, because we will make a sandwich out of anything. And this is double carb overload. I'm going to make it without pointing you at it because it's impossible to try and film with food on your lap because everywhere's wet and windy and horrible and cold. Right, so there, let's see that, is a chip butty. That's the only name for that. So you have chips. Inside, you can put gravy in, or you can have a fish butty. So you can have a fish butty. You can, we put anything, we put everything inside a sandwich. The Earl sandwich will be so happy of how many things we put in sandwiches. So that is a chip butty. If you put a pie in a sandwich, which you can do, you put a pie in between, inside a bread roll, tea cake, barm cake, whatever you want to call it. You can put a pie in there, and it's called a Wigan kebab. I don't know why I'm not from Wigan, but that's called a Wigan kebab. So I'm now going to eat my chip butty. So I'm going to put some gravy on it, and then I'll come back to you when I'm walking back home in this horrible wind and rain. I'm going to go back across the level crossing now. So thankfully it gives you lots of warning before a train comes and runs you down. So we don't want that. We ruin the tracks, get blood all over them. And here's a British institution. Which is Poundland. Where it used to be, everything that they sold in there was a pound. It hasn't been a pound for a long time. The barriers are going down. So that means the train's probably about to leave the station. carry on up through town. Thankfully I got through before it went. The only thing that there's more of in the UK than fish and chip shops are pubs. So, what you call a bar, and the one here, I don't go in. So, in terms of, you would call a dive bar, we would call a rough pub. The beer's cheap in there, but there's a reason the beer's cheap. It's rough. So the Coverdale Tower again. There's a plaque on it. It's about 12 foot up, so I don't know why. Sure if you could see that. Right, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope, Danny, this is useful to you and helps you decide. I will come to England for fish and chips with Mark, but I'm not going to do it in February or January because the weather is horrible. You will find that the best weather is for about 2 weeks in August. That's when we have our sunshine. Just 2 weeks in August we have a little bit of sunshine. But thank you for letting me send this in to you, Danny, and new video every day.